just trying to get to the money, but we don't use it to help others. And that's kind of like the crux of everything for me is jokes aside, money aside. If you're going to get to the money, if you're going to invest, save, get out of debt, build financial wealth, every trigger word you want to use in the English language, make sure at the end, it's not just for your kids. It's not just for that complete stranger that may never be able to tell you thank you that you helped them. If you know someone who died of cancer, donate to a cancer society. If you're religious, donate to your church. If you have family and friends that are in debt, help them. But go out your way to be charitable.
Welcome, everybody, back to another exciting show, the About That Wallet podcast, and brought to you today with Earth Breeze. Make sure that you guys get yourself some sheets. Link inside the bio where you can go ahead on and get your earthly woes out of the way because you actually get some clean clothes. You see my black shirt, it's been black for the longest, and Earth Breeze doesn't change or fade your colors, which is amazing. So, you guys have been coming around thinking about, all the stuff that's happening in your life right now. But I have to say that today we have a remarkable guest joining us today, whose name is Joel, a true champion of the financial freedom with a remarkable journey from debt to financial liberation. Joel brings a wealth of knowledge and experience to the table. Get ready for an engaging conversation as we explore Joel's insights, tips, and strategies for building a solid financial foundation. Buckle up and get ready to unlock the secrets to financial success with our extraordinary guest, Joel, on the About That Wallet podcast. How you doing today, Joel?
Doing good, man. Doing good. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, no problem. So, you one of the things that you call yourself a debt-free Joel.
Yes.
Why?
It's a long story. The easiest way to put it is that being debt-free allows you to have a certain level of freedom. And I think most people don't understand that side of the equation. I understand the other side, right? Which is you have debt, right? You go to work, and after you go to work, you pay your bills. And after you pay your bills, whatever's left over, you go and spend. And you wonder why you're in this little rabbit hole of just constantly doing the same thing financially over and over again. Being debt free allows you to break that cycle, right? Because let's face it, we don't like paying down our debts. We don't like paying student loans. We don't like paying credit cards. We don't like having car payments. We don't like having mortgages, but yet we all have them,
yep.
Right? And we all just think it's a normal part of society. So becoming debt free allows you to free up your money to do other things where you can invest, where you can save your money, where you can buy investment properties, where you can max out your 401k, where you can be charitable, right? Those things allow you a certain level of freedom. And what I realized too is that becoming debt free isn't just necessarily the financial aspect. You become a different person as you become debt free because you become less and less reliant on material aspects of your life, right? We're all guilty of it. But the problem is that when the mentality that you have to be, the person you have to become debt free is more valuable than the money you'll ever have. Because you learn certain lessons in life that carries you forward. You don't become attached to materialistic things anymore the same way. And now you have, and the ironic part is you don't become attached to material things. And when you're debt free, you have the ability to do all that and you still don't. Because you start to realize what the value of a dollar is and how you can compound.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about. And I really enjoyed learning a little bit about you, just looking at your Instagram account, is that, growing up with your parents, and usually we learn most of our money values from our parents, either it's good or bad, and whether or not you're going to repeat those same traits or we're going to change them. So did you notice growing up, what type of money habits did your parents have, and what lessons did you learn from them?
It was contentious, right? Because you have two Caribbean parents during that era. The man made a lot of money. The woman tried to make as much money as she could, but they didn't know anything about each other's finances. So it was always an issue when it came to money. Always an issue, right? My dad had the type of brain to want to flip houses. The way his mind worked, he was like a cerebral assassin, right? But the way he went about it was trying to, refinance and buy it on debt and this, that, and the third. And, you own 4 different houses, but every house has a heavy mortgage. So trying to get out of that was extremely hard. My mother, on the other hand, didn't trust anything about investing. All she did was take the money, put it in the bank, right?
Right.
That's it. It's bad as my mom, right? But my mother was brought up as an accountant type mentality. She was in the medical field, but she's the type of person who still balanced her checkbook every day. We don't do that no more, right? We just kind of let the bank do it when we look at our statement. But she balanced her checkbook every day or every month. So she had more of a saving mentality. My father had more of an investing real estate mentality. What you start to realize is you need both, right? So I saw both extremes in real time. And what I learned from it is that number one, choosing your partner is incredibly important, right? Your partner has a very severe influence on your financial trajectory if you don't do this right, right? It can go left, it can go right, but who you choose is very important. But the second thing you learn is that people are very emotional about money too, right? Especially from a masculine perspective, right? What you're seeing now is the change in dynamic in our culture. I don't know if you're noticing it now, but for a long period of time, men were the breadwinners. For
Yeah.
a long period of time. That's changing now. Right? That's changing on its head slowly but surely. And what you're starting to realize is that your partner can severely influence how your day-to-day financial operations work. And you guys have to be able to communicate on the same level. So I know when I was younger, I was always good with money. But one of the things I started to learn as I gotten older is that you taking the money aspect away from the relationship in such a way that you could be free. And if you have a right partner who has the same type of mindset, your relationship can probably last longer, right? Because you're not arguing about money. Sure, you can argue about sex, you can argue about other things, but at least that one aspect you can control the best that you can, right? Living below your means, living, a certain way. So for my parents, I saw it in real time. They did the best they could. My mother died debt free. I played a small part in that, but she died debt free. She was the only person I know who died the way she wanted to go, right? And without any of the headache around. So I think that we can learn from our parents, but I think we also need to learn that they're not perfect just like we're not. So you can take some of the things that they did right and did wrong. And if I'm older and have kids, they can take some of the things I did right and wrong and make those adjustments.
Yeah, because that's one of the things that's really important is to understand like what are the mindsets around finances around the parents. Did they talk to you about this? To kind of give you that mindset to say like, you know what, we don't want you to be debt or in debt when you get older.
No. You watched it more from, it wasn't spoken. It was more just gaining information in real time. So they barely talked about money. We didn't really talk about money. I think when we look at it from the perspective of, like, let's say, for example, my dad, it was education was the key to your freedom, right? That was his mantra. So if the more highly you are educated, the more likely you're going to get a good job and make a good income and do it better than even he was able to do, right? From my mother's perspective, it was, well, make good money, make sure you save your money, live below your means, this material stuff, don't worry about it. So that's the way they kind of taught me. But the conversation about debt, no. I actually saw it in real time though. What it could do, right? The person going into debt to make sure their kids go to college. A person going into debt to make sure that they can have a house, or hopefully want to have a house for each one of their kids. That was the goal, right? So you saw what debt could do, and you saw the pressure it put on people's shoulders, right? All your aunts and your uncles, and they were always talking about paying something. Oh, I have to pay this. Oh, I have to pay that. And then you have to borrow money, and you have to do this, right? I never had my parents borrow money. I never saw it, but I know that they lent money, right? Like I saw that, and I always saw the look on the faces and the despair and the, oh my God, how am I going to make this payment? I can lose my car. I can lose my house. I can lose this. So it was never spoken, but you had a front row view if you just paid attention to what it could do to people.
So then where did you get the mindset from it though? Because it's like, they didn't talk about it, but did you actually get yourself into debt seeing your parents or mimicking some of their habits?
No, so the interesting aspect for me was, I think it all started with my car. The worst financial decision I ever made was my car. Worst, by far, easily, right? I love my car. Like I love it. 2011 Dodge Charger, still have it to this day. It's a V8. Those are all going out the window. So I still have it, right? But what I realized was the appeal. I'm a car guy. I love cars. And buying that first car that's yours, that you can say, this is mine, and having a $300 whatever dollar payment per month, what you start to realize is there's a law of diminishing returns over time, right? As to how much you care about this car. And after like a year, I was like, this is bull. Like, sucks, right? So you're like, yeah, let's get on this debt. I need to get out of here. So I started paying off the car. But to be honest with you, I think now that I'm thinking about it, the one person that triggered me, this whole conversation, was my best friend, Sean. He used to flip houses back in that 08, 07 era. And one time he pulled up in front of my house and we were going to the city. And we was talking about like student loans and stuff like that. And he goes, no, I paid those off. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, I paid those off. And I was like, look, I had the money, I wanted to make sure I get out of that certain amount of debt so I can use that money for another property. So I just paid it off. And it stuck with me the whole night. I'm talking about, we was in a club, we was popping bottles, all this kind of stuff, but it just nagged at me right here. Mm-hmm. So when I got home, I was still living at home. I made a decision. Before I leave my mother's house, I pay off the student loans. And that started the journey. And then right after that, I go and buy a car. And I was like, I gotta stop. Like, this is stupid. So when I paid off the car, the last thing I had was the credit cards. And the credit card was the most painful. Not because of the amount. It wasn't a high amount. Think about it this way. I talked about this once with somebody. When you think of debt, if you think about your house, I can point to the house, right? If I think of a mortgage, I can point to the house. When I think of student loans, I can point to the degree behind you.
Yeah.
When I think of a car loan, I can look at the car outside. But when you swipe a credit card, you don't know what you spent it on.
I see where you're going.
It could be everything around you. There's nothing you can point to that you can be like, damn, this is why my credit card's, if you've done it for a long period of time. So let's say you have $7,000 of credit card debt, which doesn't sound extreme compared to other people, but you're looking around, you wonder where the hell this comes from. And you never paid it off, and it just sat there. So when you pay off your car, you can see it. When you pay off your house, you can see it. When you pay off your student loan, you can see it. But your credit card, I remember I made that payment, and I just sat in the dark one day. Like I was still in Brooklyn. I was just like, that hurt. And I was like one lump sum. I didn't do like the pay it over time. No. I did one big hit after the other because I was always good at saving.
Yeah.
But once I did that, that's when I became 100% debt free. And I was like, I'm never going back.
And what age was this?
That was, man, I think that was, what year is this now? 2017, maybe. So maybe 6 years ago, 34.
Nice.
Yeah.
So,
or maybe 34, 35. Yeah, around that age.
All right. So we're about the same age then. Nice.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Yeah. Getting there.
Yeah. Because a lot of the times it's always our circle. And it's usually the least person you would expect to kind of talk about finances to kind of get you to think like, why am I keeping this debt around? Like, why am I, where the heck my money's going? And, yeah. So it's like, it's good to have those people in your circle that you're open and willing to have that discussion with. So
yeah, I mean, me and him, we've always had that relationship. Like when we get together, not like you, I've known him since kindergarten. Literally kindergarten. Like, when you have to hold the sign?
Yeah.
It's me on one side, it's him on the other side, holding the sign.
Wow.
And like nowadays, like when we talk, it's like a board meeting. Like, like how's the houses, how did this, that, and third, the money's right, da da da. So that's always been our mentality. And when he gave me that gem, like it just nagged at me the whole time. I was like, why am I waiting to pay off the student loan? And I just stayed. When everybody moved out, I stayed home. I stayed in my mother's house in the basement. And every time I got paid, I was putting like $1,000 on that stupid student loan. Every single time. And then once it was paid off, I was like, all right, now I'm out. Now I moved. And I was able to move with very little debt. And then not realizing it, you move and you don't have the money to furnish your apartment. So you right? Yep. So what do? Swipe.
Swipe.
I pick this up, swipe. Right, and then it's like a couple years later, they're like, I think I need a new car. Right, let's go into debt, and then like you put yourself. It's so easy to get yourself into debt, but what I always tell people is like, debt is normal. Be weird, right? Be the weirdo. Be the person that's different than your friends, because what happens is that it's not supposed to be this way. It's not. I don't care what anybody tells me. It's not supposed to be like this. Just because society made it very easy for you to be into debt doesn't mean that this is what it's supposed to be.
That's true. And that's the reason why I have shows like this. And as financial shows come about is because we wanted to be weird and we wanted more weird people around us. Because
you have to.
Yeah, because the people we talk to don't get tired of hearing us all the time talking about the same stuff, which is money. And like, what are you doing with your money? What are the strategies to kind of get us where we are today? And we're like, look at this. Can you believe this? In TV shows, I can't look at them the same anymore because I'm always looking at them like, if they just kept their money to themselves or had that open discussion with their spouse, they wouldn't have this argument, and then it'd be the end of the show.
Yeah. Well, there's drama that comes with it. There's a very personal aspect about money. When I consult with people, it's not the math that doesn't work. Mm-hmm. Very rarely do you find someone's income doesn't exceed their expenses. That's only happened one time. And this was a girl that I know. She was like a librarian, and she didn't have enough to actually move the way she wanted, but she loved what she did. Right. So I was like, all right, try to figure out a side hustle, do what you need to do to get your money right. But it's not like her bills were excessive. It's just that the income was really low. For the majority of people, when I consult, their income surpasses their expenses. It's the behavior that you're arguing with. It's the behavior. Money is more about behavior than it is about mathematics. I've been saying it for years, and I see it in real time. So it's like when you tell someone to be debt free, they all automatically say, you Dave Ramsey want to be. I didn't know who Dave Ramsey was until after I became debt free. True story. Had no idea. Had no idea who he was until after I was debt free. And I was like, because you start looking at the debt free community.
Yeah, you start learning. Yeah.
You start seeing his name, and I'm like, oh, this probably would have been easier if I just did what he did from the beginning, right?
Right.
Okay. But yeah, money is more about behavior, and it's podcasts like these, it's conversations like these that normalize it. Think about it. You can go on Instagram right now. You can go on Twitter. You can go on any type of social media. You can learn about anybody's sexual orientation. You can learn about people's favorite food. You can learn about the nastiest things on earth. You know what you'll never hear about? Someone's income, someone's net worth, someone's financial aspect. It is taboo to talk about.
Now, do you think it's the employers making it taboo or the employees making it taboo?
Both. Here's why I say I'm not even a cop out. It's both. When you think about your employer does not want you to know what your contemporary makes. Under no circumstances do they want you to know that.
Right.
Because if you find out that this person makes more than you, you have to now equalize our salaries. Which is why when they passed those laws in New York to basically say that they're going to disclose the salary ranges, right? That had a lot of pushback. So now these people are doing extreme salary ranges. Like you can be a director and you can be paid $50,000 to $200K. Like who cares? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that defeats the purpose.
Right.
But your employers do not want you to know what the other person makes because you lose the bargaining power, which is the ambiguity of how much you make. Okay. But then the employees don't want to know either. If we're being honest, the employees don't want to know what the other person makes either. Because if they do, there's an emotional aspect about money. Very emotional. Think about it. Think about the closest friends you have. Do you know any of their salaries?
2 people.
2.
Yeah.
You know a lot of people. 2.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And think about the irony with that. Yeah. And I guarantee if I said about all your friends, their sexual orientations, the nasty nonsense that they like, their favorite foods, where they want to live, certain goals that they have, the deep secrets that they don't want you to tell nobody, but you don't know anything about their money.
Yeah.
And what does that tell you? That normally, their religious beliefs, everything. But the one thing they don't talk to you about is their money, which means it's the most personal thing about them is that income. is that money. So when we are having this conversation with people, do you know the level of anxiety certain folks have now when you talk to them about money? It's very hard in the dating realm. Let me tell you right now, like it's the worst.
With my wife, that's how we started off. Like I told her straight up,
That's awesome.
"This is what I made. This is how much debt I got. This is my goal to finish it out."
No,
She did the same, and I was like, "All right, cool."
trust. Right
That,
there. Trust.
yeah,
That's beautiful, man. I'm telling you, as a single man, I am telling you now, there is a toxic environment around it because nobody wants to be the person to say there's bad money habits.
right.
Nobody wants to be that person, but we all have it. So the more that they do what you did was to be honest and upfront, and they're honest and upfront, and you can build that level of trust, and you can raise everything together. But yeah, it's money is extremely, 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 extremely emotional.
Yeah. So then that brings up for the second segment here, which is like what separates successful people from like never getting started in their debt-free journey.
Discipline. That's the easiest thing. Discipline. It's not really too complicated. We can go into the socioeconomic factors that affect us, right? Especially as people of color, right? We can say that the system is designed and redlining and pay discrepancies. We can go all through that, and all of that is valid.
Right.
However, it's discipline. It's discipline. It's the ability to tell yourself no, right? The same discipline that allows you to get up in the morning and go to the gym is the same discipline you can use with your finances. The same discipline that tells you probably got to go to church on Sunday, right? That same discipline is the one that's supposed to help you with your money. The same discipline that tells you probably shouldn't be eating that crap or drinking that much, or you probably shouldn't drive too hard when you're having all that stuff in your system. It's the same discipline that you need. Discipline to me is the ultimate factor of your financial journey because it's usually a slow start. Very slow. When you think about a gym, when you go to the gym, right? What's the hardest part about the gym? It's not actually the gym.
No, it's showing up.
Putting your sneakers on.
Interesting.
Putting your sneakers. When you put your sneakers on, you commit.
Got you.
Right? You can put all your clothes on for the gym, but the minute those sneakers go on, that's the hardest part because now you're committed. Now you can hear the squeak of the sneaker. Right? You put your bag on. Screw it. I'm going to the gym.
Yeah.
It's that little moment, that little time period where you say, I don't want to do it, and you do it anyway. Same thing with money. When you tell yourself, I'm on a budget, and you're around your friends, and you say to yourself, I'm not spending more than this amount. That's why I always carry cash.
Right.
Right? When my cash is done, Joel is out. Right? It's the discipline, and we all break it. I don't care who, we all make mistakes. You know, right? It is what it is when we're on our journey, but it's the discipline, the ability to tell yourself that a part of all that you earn is yours to keep. That's the key. And to say it and to do it. It's the discipline to have the action. It's patience and persistence, right? It's all the key words you can use, right? Like they asked Michael Jordan, what's was the key to his success? It was patience and persistence, right? Be patient with the process and be persistent in what you're doing. So if you're supposed to be saving a certain amount of money every month, you need to be patient that it's going to work. And you need to be persistent that you keep doing it every month and you stick to the plan. Everybody starts now. Everybody wants to get their financial journey started. And then in a couple of weeks, it fizzles out.
Yeah.
Because there's no discipline. There's no patience. There's no persistence. It's they started and they ended. Everybody has New Year's resolutions. Where are they now?
You're right.
Everybody has goals, right? So if you're asking me, it's the discipline, right? To stick and do your job. If you made a decision, it's not going right. Make a decision and stick to it.
So what type of plans do you typically, like a basic guideline that you'll give somebody to get them on their journey, I guess you could say back to zero, to be debt.
Get on a budget. Get on a budget immediately. Immediately. I can't even have a conversation with you if you don't know what your numbers are. Realistically speaking, right? I can't talk to you about an engine if you don't know what the parts are.
Facts. Yeah.
Can't talk to you about it, right? So you need to know what you're looking at. And putting pen to paper is the scariest thing for somebody to do. Because it's the mirror, right? It's the hold yourself to the mirror and say, this is what you look like now. And it's brutal. but you have to overcome that. So the first thing I always tell people is have an honest conversation with yourself and do the budget, right?
Yeah.
Take your expenses. And then when you have it at the end and you look at all the expenses you have, because usually it's one item for income for the majority of us.
Yeah.
And then there's a whole list of expenses, right?
True.
And then you send it to me and I say bullshit, right? Excuse my language, like BS. So I send it back to you and say, where's your Amazon? Where's your Netflix? Where's your going out money? Where's your drinking money? Where's your weed money? Like, where's all? I want everything on there.
Yeah.
And when they do that, it hurts because then they look at it and go, damn. Because now they can't give you the excuse anymore.
Yep. I had to do that too a couple of times, and I was like, your income says this, but you just told me you can't afford an extra $600 for your car that you just recently purchased. And I was like, well, where's the rest of the money? And it was like, yeah, DoorDash. And I was like, how much you spend on DoorDash? $1,800. I was like, in a month? It was like, yeah. It's like, well, you need to learn how to go to the grocery store.
That's tough, man. Okay, you got food at home, and if you don't have food, buy enough food that's gonna last you a few days.
Exactly.
You better learn how to get on some leftovers. What the hell's wrong with you? Hey, you know what I mean? Hey, come on, man. I'm being real with people. I got time for all this. Like, come on, man. No. I don't want to hear it. So I'll tell you a quick thing, right? So statistically speaking, you spend more when you swipe your credit card than when you pay with cash.
Okay.
Right? And what happened, the reason why, and they've done studies on this, the reason why is because you can see your money leaving when you pay with cash. Like I said, when Joel's money clip is done, game over, right? There's more money left. I can go to an ATM, but it's going to hurt, right? When you have a credit card, think about it. You can pay with your watch, right? If you have an Apple Watch, you can just go bing and pay. Why are they making it that convenient? Because they like you? No, because they want you to overspend. Like I had this conversation with somebody the other day when credit card companies offer you points, right? I was like, look, if you know what you're doing, fantastic. Yeah. I don't trust myself. Mm-hmm. That's why I never got a card with points.
See, that's rare. A lot of people aren't honest with themselves, that they don't trust themselves. And like for me, I trust myself. Like, you 15 credit cards right now. They're like, all right, cool. They ain't going nowhere. I ain't sweating.
Right, hey, it's just gonna sit here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that's the thing. Like, so what happens, right? You get the credit card and then you chase the points.
Yep.
And when you chase the points, you're more likely to keep swiping the card. The more likely you are to keep swiping the card, the more likely you're going to buy something that you can't afford.
Yep.
When you buy something you can't afford, that means you can't pay it off. When you can't pay it off, they charge you interest. When they charge you interest, debt. That's how they get you. You know what I'm saying? So I always got to remind people, they're not doing this because they like you. It's somebody like me behind the scenes that did the math and said, statistically speaking, 70% of these people are going to carry a balance. We can make money off of them. Offer them points. Offer them the cash back. We'll make money in the long run.
Not to be, what they call it, just thinking about like these conspiracy theorists. But remember during the pandemic, everybody was paying off their credit cards. And it was like, oh, this is the first time we've seen in almost 10 years or something like that everybody's paying their debts and everything like that.
Yeah.
The next thing you know, the government was like, we can just print some money. We can give you some more money. And then next thing you know, everybody's back in the same cycle again. They got to get people back in line. Yeah,
well, look, I don't want to be too conspiracy theory, but let's think like two educated black men, right? Mm-hmm. A credit card company does not make money off of you if you do not go into debt.
Correct.
Just let that sit. So why are they going to offer you money? It is bad for them to have you pay off your credit card. It's bad.
Yeah.
It's bad for the economy when you pay off your mortgage.
Yep.
It's bad for the economy when you pay off your car. It's bad. It's literally a bad thing for capitalism in a certain way when you pay off your debt, specifically because they make money off of you. So when you think of, I have the same book.
So this book was talking about that. Yeah.
Yeah. I have the same book downstairs. So when you pay off debt, you're actually going against the system. So it's in their best interest to make sure that you stay in debt so they can make money off of you. Now, I'm not here to make judgment against people because we all benefit from the system. But if you really think about it, when you pay off your credit card, you're hurting the company because they need you as a revolving interest so that they can make money off of you. A credit card does not make money off of you if you simply pay their card off. They make money off the merchants when you swipe because they
Oh, yeah.
charge the merchants a certain fee. But that's not enough to sustain the profitability that they want. They need you in debt.
Looking like a true master.
They
It's so,
need you.
yeah, because I don't even know the interest rates on any of my credit cards because I just pay them off. And I
Yeah.
take the points and I'm like, well, it's free money for me. That's how I treat them. But that's why we're here to talk about the habits and everything like that, the behavioral sense of it.
Yeah.
And once you build that strong muscle up, again, to tell yourself no, like for me, I know that I can afford, this amount. Just say like it's $1,000. Cool.
Yeah.
I know I could pay $1,000 off by the end of the month. Sure. Swipe away. But as I see that number itch up right before the statement date, well, best believe it's going to be zero. So
I tell you how bad I am. You know how bad I am? Now that I'm thinking about it, it's probably extreme. I swipe my credit card today, it's paid off tomorrow.
Nice.
Whatever is swiped. Whatever.
Yep.
That is the mentality that I have. It does not stay on my statement. For example, when I paid off my credit card, that last payment I made, right? I told you I was sitting in the dark like, this is wild. I didn't even go out that night. I just was like, get it, right? The statement comes in the next month. They still charge me interest.
Did you call them up?
Yeah, I did. Oh, the girl was sweet on the phone. She broke it down to me. She said, no. You did the right thing. You paid it off. But let me explain to you how it works. The interest that's charged on your credit card is from the balance before. So,
yes. Okay.
Right? So if we're in May and you pay off your credit card, you're paying the balance from April, which means they're going to charge you interest for the last 26 days in May, and you're going to have to pay that in June. So when my credit card, when I saw it, I was like, right. She broke it down. She said, no, you have to go through at least like one more payment cycle because it's a revolving, and they do it a certain way.
I love credit card companies because they did that.
Yeah.
Citibank is notorious. I mean, not to call them out, but they are notorious for that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. As an example.
Yeah.
Such a mess.
Yeah, I'll tell you one quick one if you have time.
Yeah.
So I went to go buy a new phone. Right? I went to go buy a new phone. One, because when I do like podcasts like this or like when I do stuff on YouTube, like I had like a crappy iPhone. It was the worst. And I was like, I have to buy a better camera, which I'm probably going to have to get info from you with your setup because I like it. But either I buy a camera, or I buy a phone that can do most of it for me, and I buy the ancillaries around it. I go to Verizon. I've been with Verizon for over 20 years. And I say, I'm looking for a new phone. But my question is like, they talk about the plans and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, that's cool. And I'll get the phone, but phone's like $1,200, $1,100, depending on what you get. And I'm like, can I pay the phone off now? I just swipe the card. I'm not trying to carry debt. Let me just pay off the card and do one lump sum. You know what they told me? They said, no. You cannot go to Verizon right now and buy a phone and get a plan, whatever the case is. They will not allow you to pay the phone off in right if it's a brand new phone. Wow. You have to pay it off over time. And they'll do it, to be fair to them, there'll be 0% interest and all this kind of stuff. But you cannot pay off the phone in one shot. So you can put a down payment. They kept saying you can put a down payment now, and you can pay the rest next month. Now, why behaviorally would they do that?
Yo,
why are you not taking my money?
I'm with you on this strategy here. Let's see where your mind going at with this.
Right. Yeah. So now I go to Apple. I buy the phone outright. But why would they do that? Because everybody's on a teeter, right? Everybody's so close to the edge of financial catastrophe that if I'm able to not pay it off next month and I just keep carrying it and keep carrying it and keep carrying it, chances are they make probably a fee from the money that you still owe somehow, some way. And if you are owed to them, eventually they'll start to charge you interest. Because somebody behind the scenes like me is doing the math saying, look, a lot of these people will stretch out over 12 months. So we can give them 12 months and we can still make XYZ amount based on this probability. But you cannot pay the phone off right now if you chose.
And this is one of the reasons why once I found out that you can pay your phone off, I've been buying my phones outright ever since. And it's been at least for the past 10, no, at least 8 years, for the past 8 years.
Why? And it's, to be fair to everyone who listens to this and says, all right, fine, I know it's hard. Yes, society is set up in such a way to put you in pigeonholes. Another example, I'll give you another one. If you go and buy a car, the price that you see online, go to cars.com, whatever you want to do, the price that you see online is assuming you're financing.
Yep.
Right? So what does that mean for folks? That means if you went and said, nah, maybe, like they're charging $350 a month and the price that they're showing is like $26,000. But if I walk in there with like 23, they may give it to me. No, they won't. Right. Because the price that they're giving you, that $26,000 is taking into account that you're going to be in debt for 5 years.
Yep.
If you walk in there and try to buy a car at $26,000 cash, they're going to charge you $29,000. They're going to charge you more money. The price they're advertising is right. I learned that when I was looking for cars. I was like, what? I was like, yeah. They assume the bank has to make money off of you.
You have to make. And one of the things, that's probably why they don't like you coming in there with your own pre-appraisal either.
Oh, no, they don't like that. Yeah. Why would people want information? You don't want information to come walking through the door and they know the same thing you know, right? It's the same reason. Your employer does not want you to know what your other coworkers make. Because if they do, then they have leverage, right? Carfax started ruining the game for people with stuff like that. Because now I can walk in and see if something's wrong with the car. But now you start to know certain things behind the scenes as to why certain things cost a certain amount of money. But yeah, the system is always going to be designed to make money. There's a reason why they call it amortization when it comes to your mortgage, right?
Yes.
There's a reason.
You can talk to that one again.
Right. When we talk about mortgages, right? A lot of people know that they're paying 30 years of mortgage. What they don't tell you is that someone really smart, whoever came up with this was a genius, basically front-loaded all the money that needed to be paid to the bank first. And then towards the end of your loan is when you start paying off your actual house.
Yep.
Right? So if you notice, your mortgage payments in the beginning is like 80% interest and 20% principal, which means that bank is telling you, I'm getting my money first before you get your house.
Yep. And on top of that, just to add to more fuel to the flames,
right.
after the first 5 years, they always like, hey, you paid a big chunk. Would you mind refinancing your property again? Which means that they're going to, then again, you got to do another closing cost for that. And on top of that, your interest rates go back up again. So that means that you never touch your principal.
Yeah, I'll tell you one more quick joke. It was in 2019, December of 2019. Roughly, I was going back and forth with my mom. We had the ability to pay off the house. My mother wanted to redo, and she kind of knew she had to do repairs on the house. And I walked in and I was like, under no circumstances are you touching this money. We're going right to the bank and we're paying off this house. She was like, back and forth, back and forth. And finally, I said, I'll put some of the money up to get this house paid off, but we're paying it off. We go to the bank at the top of 2020, January 2020. We go to Bank of America. We're sitting down. Everybody's congratulating my mom. Like, this is big. You're paying off your house. This is huge. They leave the room. I said, Mom, this is what's going to happen. Someone's going to walk into this room right now and tell you that you can take a home equity loan.
Yep.
The minute they say that, we get up and we leave. She goes, oh, come on. Didn't I going to say that? Da, 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 da. Dog. 2 minutes later, somebody walks in. And I was like, I told you. I said, I told you. And my mother goes, no, we don't need to. Da, 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 da. We got our asses up and we left. As we're walking to the car, I'm explaining to my mother, who knew already, but I'm explaining to her the reason why they did that, Mom, is because Bank of America knows at this point they make no money off of you.
Yep.
Zero. Same way you just said 5 years, right? And in 5 years or whatever, they come back to you and they need to make money off of you.
That's what I'm saying. It's like this system. Everybody keeps saying, like Dave Ramsey liked to say that cash is king, but ultimately leverage gets you every time. And that's what they want you to believe. And you're going to have a little extra cash if you're not going to leverage.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's an argument to be made that cash is king. He takes it to an extreme. So I actually got the ability to study his philosophy of what he says. He's much more extreme.
Yeah.
But he has a point that there is an aspect of what he's saying that's funny, not funny, but like, well, it's humorous, but it's actually accurate, which is that the majority of people that he's talking to have no cash.
That's true.
Right? That's like me and you having a conversation off air, and you're explaining to me how if you use debt the right way, Joel, you can leverage your assets and your properties. So now I can own 3 to 4 investment properties based on a debt to income ratio that makes sense for me.
Yeah.
And we can go through the math. But for the majority of people, they have no idea about that. So when his audience is talking, he's like, no, you guys don't get it. We can talk about whether debt is good or bad. No, the people I'm talking to, debt is bad. It's over. Get out. Go run for your life. Because most people lack the discipline to do so. You see what I'm saying? So like for you, like you said, your mindset is, no, I understand what debt is, but I can use it to my advantage from a leverage standpoint if I have to. I can use the information if I have to and use it appropriately. It's like holding a knife.
Right.
Right? If you know what you're right, there's people who know how to use weapons appropriately. There are people, right, black belts all over the country that can whip our ass anytime they want, but they have the discipline to know when to use it. Right? So
I was thinking of just think about like something that's versatile, like a potato.
Yeah.
If you and I, with our limited education, we can just take a potato, throw it in the oven. Cool. We got a baked potato. But that's where it stops. But the education piece of it, say if you give it to a master chef, you up here got potatoes and gratin. You got French fries. You got whatever else the other potato things that's out there. Potato chips.
Right.
But, and that's pretty much how, for those of you who are listening and watching this, it's like, this is what we're talking about as far as the education piece will take you so much further than the actual money itself. And your money as that potato or your debt as that potato. Like, we can either multiply those potatoes. If you take one potato to a farmer, they can come back and yield it 100-fold or even,
right?
With enough time, and they can replicate that process. So everybody has a different mindset around how to utilize that in income, and so this is what we'd ultimately talking about: is utilizing those strategies.
Yeah, there is. I know someone whose whole business is built on that. The guy's a multimillionaire. He flies where he wants. He does what he wants. He's my age. The hell am I going to tell him?
Right.
The hell am I going to tell him? He came out of 2008 rich, and he did it the right way. Right. So when I talk with him, he thinks I'm absolutely insane. Right. He's like, "What are you talking about? Use debt to your advantage. You're smart enough to do it, Joel." And I'm like, "Yes, I understand that." But for the majority of people that I'm talking to, right, the majority of people that I'm talking to, this is not going to work for them because their mentality is different.
Yep.
Right. So like as you're becoming debt free, as you're shedding some of this BS debt, you can start to now say, all right, but how can I use it appropriately? So like for me, I've always had it like if I ever get married, like I say I get married or something like that, and my wife forces me and says, I want a house, Joel, I don't want to be in an apartment. Right. And I have to go into debt. I promise you that day my name changes it goes from debt free Joel to debt free ish.
Right.
And I'm going to document the whole process. I'm going to document everything. Like I'm going to take a 15-year mortgage out and I'm out in 7.
Nice.
That is, I already know I'm out in 7, and my down payment is going to be so severe. Like I'm not even playing games, but I know that I'm able to take that on and deal with it. But most people, when it comes to that, they don't see leverage. They don't understand what that leverage comes with risk.
Yes.
Right. So for you, when you own your properties, for example, there's a certain level of risk you did the math on, and hopefully you said, all right, if that property is not rented at all, can I cover the payments without going into an additional debt to do so? Right. Because you don't want to pay with debt. You don't want to do that.
No.
So in the back of your head, you're like, all right, that property doesn't get done. Let's say, if we say 6 months, but let's say it takes a year or whatever the case is. Does my cash flow from other properties and my income and my investments able to cover that property and not mess my day up?
Yeah.
Most people don't do that. Right. like I said, we talked about before, they don't go to the back and cut the hedges. They're not even doing the math. So you know what I mean? Like they're not willing to put that work in. No.
True. All right. Let's go to this third segment because I feel like you and I we can talk all day about strategies. You know,
Yeah.
because the third strategy is, the third segment of this show is about futures. First off, I want to talk about your future, and then I want to bring up, for the people who do have money and they just want to know what to do with it going forward from this episode. So,
Sure.
for the future, for yourself, where do you see like the skills or the habits that you think will take you to the next level?
Same thing. I think it's the discipline. I think it's the ability to communicate on these platforms, the ability to figure out what I want to do in this space now, right? Do you want to start your own business? Really business. The whole point of me starting this was my way of giving back during the pandemic. That was my way, right? It's an unpopular opinion, but I didn't want to go in protest in the middle of a pandemic where everything is transferred through breathing, right? It didn't click to me. And I was from the perspective where if you study the 1960s, you start to realize there was a lot of protests, there was a lot of things like that. But the things that actually affected change was whoever had the money control the rules. So for me, it was figure out who has the money, who has the resources, and gather them. So my way was, okay, let's start to put this information out for free. So I've been doing that for 3.5 years. So I think for the future for me is, do I keep it this way? Or do I start to monetize it and build a business where I can help people with their finances, but not ding them over the head, right? Like not try to sell them on products and stupidness like that, but actually help them budget. But for me personally, I think the future is pretty bright, to be honest with you, because you've built the infrastructure in terms of your finances. You're sitting on very liquid cash, right? You're sitting on your investments. You're able to max out your 401k, given the trajectory of where you're going from a finance standpoint. You should be a multimillionaire very easily if you just stick to the plan, right? But from a futures perspective, I think, you want to have your kids, you want to be married, you want to have that aspect. Something important for all your listeners, money isn't everything. It's not everything. So I think our society got kind of warped with this, where everybody's chasing money, but they're not chasing the companionship the proper way, or they're not, being charitable, right? They're not giving back their time or their money. They're just thinking about themselves. They want to be on social media all day long. So for me, it's the ability to take what I'm doing now and transfer that into a space where I can either grow it, keep it the same, whatever the case is, but to keep expanding and keep putting out that info.
Like it. All right. So before we get to the final 4 questions, is there anything else you want to leave with the audience before we do a deep dive into it?
What I usually lose people on is this. The quick story about it is December 28th, 2019, I wrote on a piece of paper what my purpose is. And my purpose is to educate minorities, specifically Black people, on how to be better with their money so that they can be charitable. That last part, that charity, I lose everybody. You probably see me mention it a few times. Be charitable. Okay? Give your time, give your money to people who are less fortunate than you. There are people who paved the way for you to get here. Be charitable to people so that you can help them on the way back. And being charitable doesn't mean just donating to an organization. We all have people in our lives that can use a little bit of help, right? So, maybe if someone's in debt and you're just getting out of it, and you turn around and say, all right, I'm gonna help you pay off your debt. And when you're done, you go and do that for somebody else. But make sure a part of your income, right? A part of your income is yours to keep, and a part of your income is yours to give. Make sure that you're charitable. That's the big thing for me. Is I think we as a society, we don't do that as much anymore. We just try to get to the money, but we don't use it to help others. And that's kind of like the crux of everything for me is, jokes aside, money aside, if you're going to get to the money, if you're going to invest, save, get out of debt, build financial wealth, every trigger word you want to use in the English language, make sure at the end, it's not just for your kids. It's not just for that complete stranger that may never be able to tell you thank you, but you helped them. If you know someone who died of cancer, donate to a cancer society. If you're religious, donate to your church. If you have family and friends that are in debt, help them. But go out your way to be charitable.
Awesome. All right, man. Ready for the final four?
Let's do it.
All right. Number one, what does wealth mean to you?
Freedom. That's it. Game over. I mean, I can keep going if you want, but I want to make sure I have the time. But freedom.
Oh, cool. Number two, what was your worst money mistake?
That orange Charger 2011 V8, 370 horses, 395 foot-pounds of torque, that slab outside. Woo! Worst decision of all time. But God, I still get compliments to this day, though. You know, still do it.
Well, when you told me that the first time, and I was like, is it really your worst one or your best one? Because you smile every time you do it. Every time you talk.
Oh yeah, there's a mental. The joke that I have with people is that your car drives better when it's debt free. Obviously, it's not real, right? But not having that payment, like I was, I could wrap that car around the corner right now, like really wrap it around the pole. I go outside by myself, a Honda Civic, Honda Accord, and I'm out.
Yep,
that's it. I'll look at the pictures and I'm like, yo, that was a fly car, man. But that's it. But you can say it's one of my best decisions because that was the last trigger. That was one of the last straws for me, making that payment every month and saying, this is bull, and then switching. But to me personally, as much as I love it, as much as I'm a car guy, I have to admit, yeah, I probably could have done that a lot better. I could have, I could have got the Honda Accord. That V8 was calling me.
Yeah. All right. Because that's the experience that you would have never had that experience, I'm just thinking about it now. It's like, pay for the experience.
There is something to be said about it, right? Yeah. So not to be too strict with everyone, but life is meant to be lived, right? You're able to make not the best decisions in the world, but if the experience is what gives you joy, you go for it. Right? Like that's what you go for it. You just don't want to screw yourself in the future. Like I paid I don't want to be like, yo, just go to the Maldives right now, swipe on your credit card and go live your life. Yes, it's the best experience in the world, but that $30,000 you spent just ruined you for the next 10 years, right? It's over. So I think that there has to be a balance. There has to be a balance.
I like it.
Yeah.
Right. Number three. What is your favorite financial or non-financial book?
Richest Man in Babylon by George Clayson.
Okay. That is a good book.
Yes, I've bought that book for people. I think I've bought that book for at least 15 to 20 people at this point.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you like
it has no numbers. It's the best. To me, it's one of the best financial books that has no numbers.
Yeah.
But what are the two subjects that scare people the most in our society? Right? It's math. And what was the other one? But for sure, it's math.
Yeah, math is number one. Yeah.
Math, people hate math. Yeah. So if people hate math and you're talking to them about, it's like you mix math, which people hate, and money, which people are emotional about. Mm-hmm. So that book has no emotion. It's written in story form.
Yep. And
there's no numbers. So you don't lose them.
Except for the 10%. That's the only thing you talk about.
10%. Part of all that you earn is yours to keep. I did not come up with that line. That line is drilled into my brain from that book. I still read it every year.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Number 4. What is your favorite dish to make?
Shout out to my mom. So her rice and chicken, I was able to, during the pandemic, I was able to actually watch her do it and like write down the notes. So God bless. Now that she's not here, I was actually able to do it the other day, and I was like, I got it.
Nice.
Like, so now that's my favorite dish to make because it brings you back to your childhood. Caribbeans, like, you could do rice, you could do chicken, you can have that every single day. So to me, that's probably the favorite dish to make is if I can get it right, and sometimes it's a hit or miss, but if I can get it right, the rice and chicken.
Awesome. All right, the last question of the show, which is, where could people find out more about you?
2 places for now. At Debt Free Joel on Instagram, and on YouTube, same name, at Debt Free Joel. So for now, we'll do that, and then obviously I'll start to, like I said, build the infrastructure, whether it be the website and all this other kind of stuff. But for now, on social media at Debt Free Joel, I try to put videos out. I try to do it a little bit humorous. I warn people now, I'm probably going to offend you. Sorry. I'm going to take things that you guys really believe in and I'm going to attack it. But the reason why I do that is because there's too many myths about money. You try to make it humorous. You try to have some fun with it. But I'm not just the bearer of bad news all day. I can honestly tell you that, if you do what you're supposed to do with your money, um, it's going to create a certain level of freedom that nobody can ever take from you.
Awesome. Well, everybody, you had an awesome opportunity to hear Joel's story and actually learn a lot about the strategies and also the mindset around your debt so that you can actually become debt free like Joel. And that you also understand that, hey, we all about that wallet. And this is what we're here for. Understand those strategies, understand those habits so that you can live the life that you want to live. All right, everybody. If you enjoyed this show, make sure that you share this with somebody. Go ahead on and like, subscribe, and share as always. You guys be safe. I'm out. Peace.